Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Backyard Baseball 2003 Tampa Bay Devil Rays season playthrough. Although it's no longer a season playthrough, this is the wrap-up episode. I talked about at the end of the season finale video. I told you I was going to do this, just sort of like a debrief for the end of the season to wrap everything up and just to talk about plans going forward. And man, a lot has happened with this channel over the past week and a half, and it hasn't been because of anything that I've done specifically. Just in terms of views and engagement, I have never experienced something like this on YouTube before. Clearly, my videos are being recommended to way more people than ever before. I think within the last 2-ish weeks, I've gained over 100 subscribers. I think my subscriber count has doubled within the past 10 to 14 days. The very first episode in the Tampa Bay Devil Rays series, the Tin Can Alley dinger one where Pete Wheeler hit the home run dead center in Tin Can Alley, that's got like 4,000 views in the past month, and that video was uploaded back in like October 2020. So that video has gotten more views in the past week than it had for the entire 10 first months that it was up, which is just nuts. And then the most recent video in the series, Game 3 of the World Series, the season finale, in which we won at the championship, beating the Arizona Diamondbacks, shutting them out once again. Within the first week of upload, within the first week of that video going live, it gained 1,300 views, just a little bit more, approaching 1,400 views. I have never posted a YouTube video on this channel or on any other channel that I've done that has been that successful within the first week. And none of the other videos in this series have even come close to having that good of a performance within the first week. So thank you so much to everyone who has watched a video, even if you just watched it, even if you didn't like it or subscribe. If you've just interacted with my channel at all, thank you so much. This is just very encouraging to see all the new commenters, and it's just it's been a really wild ride. I've been doing my best to respond to comments, respond to questions from new viewers. I was actually in vacation in Virginia immediately following that finale video going live. I made sure to get that video done and posted, I think either the night before or maybe even the morning of that I flew out to Virginia. And the entire time I was on vacation, every chance that I got to check my phone and my analytics, I was just watching the numbers just go up and up and up, and it was just wild. I've never had an experience like that where a channel has just had that sort of burst of success out of nowhere. It was incredible. So again, thank you guys so much. I will take a quick moment to address all of the new subscribers. As I said, my subscriber count has basically doubled within the span of just 2 weeks. So I do have other YouTube channels. This is not even my main YouTube channel. My main channel is called Grant J. Hillman. I'll have the profile picture and the nameplate up on the screen. And so that channel is very different than this one. On that channel, I do music commentary. I specifically talk about country music most of the time. I just talk about the music that I'm interested in, the artists I like. So it's a very different sort of content. It's more chill over there. If that's not what you're into, that's fine. But if you are into music commentary and you like watching album reviews and stuff like that, go ahead on over to that channel. You might find something that you like. The next thing I will say to all the new subscribers is that I am not a full-time YouTuber, and the people who have been with this channel from the beginning know this. I've had to answer this question several times in the almost year that I've had this channel and been uploading here, and so a lot of my longtime viewers already understand this. They know this. Y'all know who you are. Y'all are great, and y'all are the OGs for having been with me this whole time. But I am not a full-time YouTuber. This is not my job. I have a regular job. This is just a hobby. I have 3 YouTube channels, including this one. They're all operating on an extremely part-time basis. And so the reason I'm telling you that is because a lot of new people have subscribed to the channel recently. A ton of new people are watching my videos, and I don't want y'all to be disappointed that I don't upload super consistently. Obviously, lots of full-time YouTubers upload weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes almost every single freaking day because they're full-time and it's their job. Their job is producing YouTube videos and pumping out content. I can't do that. Not only because I have a regular job, but because I don't make money off any of my videos on any of my channels. So, I can't quit my job and just devote all my time to making YouTube videos. It'd be really cool if I could, but I can't. And if you go back through my uploads on this channel, on my main channel, you will see that there are periods of time where I take 2 to 3 weeks to upload a video. There have even been instances on this channel specifically where I took a month between uploads because I didn't have the time to sit down, film, record, write, edit the videos. And I would say on average throughout this Tampa Bay Devil Rays series, I'd say my average rate of upload was like 2 to 2.5 weeks. I really tried my best, but there definitely were stretches where like I would only get a video out once every 3 or 4 weeks. And thankfully, you know, as I've said, the OGs who have been with me since the beginning, they thankfully have been very, very gracious and charitable. And I really want to thank you guys. I would remember getting comments where people would say, you know, I'm so glad that you've uploaded again. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back. All of these comments. And it's great that, you know, it doesn't matter that I would take 3 weeks sometimes to put a video out. The fact that I could take that long because I was busy. And then as soon as I upload a video, there were people waiting for that video to pop into their subscription feed, and it didn't matter that it took a while. They were just thankful to have a video out. That was just really, really awesome, and it shows that my videos are clearly resonating with people and y'all enjoy that. So again, thank you so much for again being accepting of the challenges that I face with uploading consistently. But again, to all the new people, I do have to add that disclaimer. I am not a full-time YouTuber, so I'm not gonna be putting out videos weekly. So if I start seeing comments saying, hey man, it's been a week, why don't you have a video out? Well, that's why, because I'm not a full-time YouTuber and I don't make money off these videos and I have a regular job, so that's why. All right, so with that out of the way, the main point of this video was to do a season debrief. I'm gonna be talking about the players, my experiences with this game. Quickly, we will go over the main stats of the year. We finished a perfect 21-0. The regular season is 14 games long, so we won all 14 of our regular season games. We won all 7 games in the playoffs, 21-0. We scored 225 runs, over 10 runs per game, and only allowed 10 that entire time. And sadly, I cannot pull up the team's schedule anymore. I'm not really sure why that is. It's probably because the season is over. I again put question onto whether or not we actually only allowed 10 runs throughout the entire 21 game stretch of the series. If so, that's insane. I feel like we allowed more than just 10 runs the entire time. If we really did, that's just astounding. Like, I just can't believe that. Most hits in a game, 29 hits. Most home runs in a game, 7 hits. We can hit for power. We had a 20 piece in the playoffs. Most RBIs in a game, Pablo Sanchez. Most strikeouts in a game, Randy Johnson with 12. Pablo Sanchez also had 3 dingers in a game. So those are just some of like the single game records and just the overall stats of the team. But we'll go into individual stats for every single player, and I'll be breaking down everyone that was on the team and how they performed. So to start off the lineup, our leadoff hitter for most of the regular season and most of the playoffs was Pete Wheeler. I think the only proper comparison for Pete Wheeler in the backyard baseball games would be Michael Vick in Madden NFL 2004. Just a player that is so just completely broken that there really is not much of an answer for them. The only thing that could make Pete Wheeler better was if he was more of a power hitter. He's more of a contact hitter. He obviously can hit dingers, no question about that, but he's more of a contact hitter, with the exception of maybe Pablo and Ahmed and some of the pros. Pete Wheeler is absolutely the most overpowered player in the game. Like, there's just no match whatsoever for the level of speed that he has. And, you know, basically if you put the ball into play with Pete, he's probably going to get on base unless it's a flyout or something like that. Like, unless you hit a flyout with Pete, he's probably at the very least going to reach first without any issue about it. And he's basically a guaranteed steal unless the catcher is Mikey Thomas or something like that. And so he pretty easily led the team in hits with 32 throughout the entire season. Next closest was Keisha Phillips, who also had 30, but aside from her, nobody else really even came close to him. Amir Khan had 28, finished with a .603 batting average. And keep in mind that all these averages are a little bit skewed because this game does not account for errors or hits off errors. Obviously, those were super prevalent during our series. I feel like our batting average would not be as inflated if errors were, you know, turned off. But I keep errors on because even though errors happen way more often in this game than they do in real life, errors are still possible in real life. So I figure, you know, keeping them on, although it makes the game easier, is still somewhat more realistic. But I've considered turning them off in future series. Let me know if you guys think that would be good if I were to make a series where I turn the errors off for a greater level of difficulty. I like to leave them on because errors can happen in real life. Someone will miss a throw, someone might make a drop or something like that. But I definitely do think that turning off errors would increase the difficulty much more severely. So again, there's that. So Pete Wheeler had a couple triples and extra base hits. He had 4 home runs, finished with 14 RBI. I definitely think that he started off extremely hot and kind of cooled down a little bit. But overall, I mean, Pete Wheeler, excellent season, one of the best hitters on our team. Next up was Ichiro, and of course, Ichiro also is extremely fast, a contact hitter. He's got a rocket for an arm, probably the best right fielder in the game. I definitely had issues with Ichiro, and even when I play a pickup game just for fun, I love to play pickup games every now and then when I have free time just to, you know, sharpen my skills a little bit. And this is the only video game I play. I actually don't play video games. I don't own a console, so like Backyard Baseball 2003 and Madden Mobile are like the only video games I play. And whenever I use Ichiro, I'm either very hot with Ichiro or I'm extremely cold with him. Like I either go 4 for 4 with him in a game, or I'm just like, I'm getting nothing with Ichiro. And that's because even though he's supposed to be one of the best contact hitters in the game, he does this weird thing where he's really prone to hitting soft fly balls into the infield, which is like a characteristic that none of the other contact hitters in this game have. Like Ichiro just lifts the ball, whereas Jason Kendall or Bobby Higginson, you know, other pro players in this game that are very good contact hitters, they don't have that same trait. Like they can smack line drives that are super accurate, whereas Ichiro, I don't know if it's like his swing animation or something weird, but I'm just really prone to hitting flyouts with Ichiro. And so that's an issue that I had, and his batting average is not that great, just a .415. Not even that many extra base hits. I would say, you know, since the regular season, I really did begin to figure things out with Ichiro more. I think he was much better in the playoffs. And that's, to me, I think getting better at the game also, and just getting more used to each player. But I do wish I had been more consistent with Ichiro and I had been stealing more bases. I was not stealing bases at all for the early part of the season, which was really stupid. We could have scored way more runs. So that was a bit upsetting. But overall, Ichiro is a very good player in this game. Also very broken in terms of his speed. Like, again, if he puts the ball in play, you should be getting on base. And so obviously he's a very good player, but I feel like I personally underperformed with him. Now, talk about underperforming in the regular season. Pablo Sanchez, only 3 home runs, and I think 2 of them were inside the park. I don't know what it was with me and Pablo Sanchez. I was just bad with him in the regular season. Like, that's just straight up. I just could not connect with Pablo. Now, of course, he completely turned it on in the postseason, batting .607. He hit 9 home runs. It had 29 runs batted in the playoffs. So regular season Pablo versus playoff Pablo was like night and day difference. And of course, we're going to get more into that as I talk about the playoffs. As you can see, also Ichiro, like I said, hit much better in the playoffs, .586. Way more singles, hit an actual dinger as well. That was hilarious. Then we have Ahmed and Amir Khan, and I'm skipping over Keisha. Don't worry, I'll go back to Keisha. But I feel like you have to talk about Amir and Ahmed together, because obviously with Ahmed and Amir Khan on the same team, Amir gets a boost. For those who are unfamiliar with the game, Ahmed is like a pure power hitter. In my opinion, he actually has better power than Pablo Sanchez. And, you know, he's got some decent speed, but aside from that, decent fielder, but he's pretty much a pure hitter. Like, just, he can rake home runs, and that's his main skill. Amir Khan is more of a contact hitter, and he's a great pitcher. But when they are on the same team, Ahmed's stats stay the same, but Amir's stats change to replicate that of his older brother. So he gets boosted to 10 at batting. His pitching rating goes down, and his speed goes up slightly as well. And so if you look at the stats, though, I'm actually wondering if Amir's boost is better than Ahmed Khan's base stats, because through the entire regular season and also in the postseason, Amir was just way better than Ahmed. And it's not like Ahmed sucked or anything like that, but I was just able to hit for power way more consistently with Amir. He got way more runs batted in. As you can see, 21 runs batted in, second to only Ken Griffey Jr., who led the league, not just the team, he led the league. So Amir Khan had one of the best RBI totals in the entire league, had a few points higher in batting average, and for whatever reason, I mean, he was just better than his older brother. With Ahmed Khan, it's really interesting because I was very inconsistent with him. Not just in the regular season, he only hit 4 home runs. He only hit 2 2 in the playoffs. It's interesting because, as I said, when talking about Ichiro, I like to play pickup games just to sharpen my skills and, get more used to certain players. And whenever I play with Ahmed on my team in one of those pickup games, I'm amazing with Ahmed. Like, I've had games where I've hit 4 home runs with Ahmed, like in one game. I've cranked 4 dingers with Ahmed in one game. Like, I'm really good with him. I really like to randomize the rosters, and so whenever I get Ahmed on my team, I'm pumped because I'm just so good with him. I don't know what it was. I was just bad with him in the playoffs. He's a very good hitter, but yeah, for whatever reason, he was super lackluster in both the regular season and in the playoffs. Then we got to talk about Keisha. She finished with the highest batting average on the team in the regular season, .612. The only girl on the team, but man, she more than held her own with the boys. She cranked 5 home runs in the regular season, 6 home runs in the playoffs, and she had a pretty impressive streak there in the playoffs. She batted an even better .653 in the playoffs. And man, I mean, she was just awesome. But not only was she a very good and very consistent hitter, she may have been even better as our catcher on defense. With that lightning speed, she could just run out, pick up basically any grounder. So Randy Johnson didn't even have to do any work. She has a great arm. She can throw out anybody trying to steal second base, and she's just awesome. Like, Keisha Phillips really is one of the best players in backyard baseball. Like, whenever people talk about, top 10 best backyard baseball players, you have to include Keisha. If you don't think Keisha is one of the best players in the entire game, you're just flat out wrong. She is one of the most well-rounded players in the game. She can hit, she's got great speed, she's got a solid arm, and she's a decent pitcher. The only thing that she's not excellent at is pitching. Then we move on to Ken Griffey Jr., who was by a decent margin the best power hitter on our team during the regular season. He hit double-digit home runs. He led the league. He had 11 home runs, as you can see here in the regular season, and that topped the league. Nobody else on our team hit more than 5 home runs in the regular season, so Ken Griffey Jr. more than doubled the next highest totals on our team, which is pretty crazy. He started out pretty slow in the playoffs, but finally turned it on for the World Series. He hit 4 home runs in the 3 games of the World Series, which was cool. Finally rebounded a little bit. Now, I think it is debatable as to whether or not Ken Griffey Jr. is the best pro in the game, and I think you could say, in terms of just power hitting, maybe Sammy Sosa has a more powerful bat than Ken Griffey Jr., but I think that Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing animation is just amazing. I think that's why I'm so good with him. It's that Ken Griffey Jr. has a very, very smooth, very fluid swinging animation. He's got some serious pop to his bat. He's pretty solid in the field as well, got some good speed. I personally think that Ken Griffey Jr. is the best pro player in the game in terms of hitting. Obviously, if we talk about pitching, it's Randy Johnson. Overall, though, maybe one of the shortstops, maybe Barry Bonds, maybe one of those players is the next guy we're going to talk about, Nomar Garciaparra. Now, like Pablo Sanchez, I was pretty underwhelming with Nomar Garciaparra in the regular season. He was a bit better in the playoffs in terms of batting average, batting a .652. And Nomar is another very, very overpowered player because he's got some pop to his bat, he's got some decent speed, he's got a rocket arm, obviously he's a shortstop, and he's actually pretty good at pitching too. Like, I've never mentioned this because I didn't think I was ever going to have to do it, but if I had ever had to take Randy Johnson off the mound, if that had ever happened, which it shouldn't happen. As I've said before, if you are using Randy Johnson in backyard baseball and you have to pull him from the game due to a lack of stamina, that's on you. That's user error. You should not have to sub out Randy Johnson ever. But if the situation had ever occurred that I would have to pull Randy Johnson out of a game, Nomar would have been the backup pitcher because I think he's like a 7 out of 10 at pitching, which means that he doesn't have a skill attribute below a 7. So Nomar is actually, based on pure ratings, he's one of the best all-around players in the entire game. And he had flashes of excellence in the regular season and in the playoffs. I feel like I could have performed better with him, but overall, obviously, great player, one of the best pro players in the game. Nomar's awesome. And then Randy Johnson, the only person who threw a pitch the entire regular season and the entire playoffs. Just look at these stats, all right? .54 ERA in the regular season, only 61 hits allowed, only 7 runs. Let's see, there it is, actually right there. 7 runs allowed during the regular season, 96 strikeouts. That was by far the best performance in the league. Not even close. Nobody came close with ERA. Nobody came close in terms of strikeouts. If there was a Cy Young award in this game, Randy Johnson obviously gets it. And then in the postseason, he was even more ridiculous. His strikeout count was not as high in terms of strikeouts per game, but 25 hits allowed, only 3 runs allowed with a .45 ERA. Like, this dude is just, if you want to talk about broken players, like Randy Johnson, his fastball is insane, his curveballs are insane, his slow ball is not that great in terms of accuracy, but like his stamina and his stamina regeneration is just so ridiculous that it's like you really should never have to sub out Randy Johnson under any circumstances. I actually did get a comment where someone said if I were to redo this series or play another series with this team, they want the whole lineup to stay the same, but get rid of Randy Johnson because he's just too powerful on the mound, which is true, because obviously our team is amazing at hitting, and I think we still probably would go undefeated if 8 of the 9 players aside from Randy Johnson were still there. But I do sometimes wonder, like, if our defense was not as great with Randy Johnson on the mound, just completely shutting down opposing batters, would we have been as good as we were? I don't know. I think in backyard baseball, pitching is a little bit underrated because everyone loves to crank dingers, and, you know, everyone loves Pablo and Ken Griffey Jr. and Sammy Sosa and Ahmed Khan. But I do think that Randy Johnson being on the mound for us was like, that was what enabled us to completely shut our opponents down and just made it so much easier to get blowout victories. And so yeah, sadly I cannot go through our regular season schedule and sort of review each game with y'all, but I can go through the playoffs really quick. So in the division playoffs, best 2 out of 3 series, we dismantled the Minnesota Twins. They were a joke of a team. They weren't that great. In the league championship series, the ALCS, Seattle Mariners, we totally dunked on them, put up a 20 piece in the last game. We beat them best 2 out of 3. And then in the World Series, I mean, we just stomped all over the Diamondbacks. I mean, they could do nothing against us on defense. We completely shut them out. Over 3 games, we outscored them 33-0. Randy Johnson was nuts. The whole team basically popped off. And it was just the most lopsided World Series you could have ever hoped for. I mean, there was no doubt who the best team in the league was. It was us. And so that's just how the series ended. Now, as I mentioned at the end of the last video, there are going to be awards handed out in this video. I wanted to do something special and interactive with y'all, and so I set up 3 sort of channel season awards for this Devil Rays series: a regular season MVP, a playoffs MVP, and a World Series MVP. And I set up polls and I put links in the description. I said, hey, you know, based on the performances of each players, here are the nominees for each category. Go ahead and vote. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed with the turnout, y'all. I mean, listen, as I mentioned, 1,300 views in the first week. Maybe y'all didn't watch all the way to the end, but I put a comment in the comment section. I pinned it. I mentioned it at least twice in the video. And look at the responses, guys. Regular season MVP, 32 votes. Playoffs MVP, 27 votes. World Series MVP, 26 votes. I made an edit to the comment that was pinned, and I let y'all know when the polls were closed. They were open for 5 days. So I'm just going to say this to the 32, 27, and 26 responders. Y'all are the real ones. Thank you guys so much for voting. You are awesome. You went above and beyond to participate in this channel. Now, for the rest of y'all, if I read off the winners of these awards and the person that you wanted to win didn't win, you have nobody to blame but yourself. With voter bases this low, a single vote could have changed the outcome. So next time we do this, make sure you vote, all right? That's all I'm saying. And so for regular season MVP, the nominees were Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. And so the winner of the regular season MVP for the Backyard Baseball 2003 Tampa Bay Devil Rays season playthrough is Randy Johnson, getting 59% of the vote. Ken Griffey Jr. coming in second with 41%. And I think that this result, it makes sense and it's a little bit accurate because I do think that it could have gone either way. Obviously, Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr., their powers are on different sides of the ball. Ken Griffey Jr. was by far our best power hitter during the regular season. He led the league in home runs and in runs batted in, whereas Randy Johnson was easily the best pitcher in the league. So I really do think it could have gone either way. But, you know, if we're talking about who makes the greater impact on the game, I mean, we had a few close games in the middle of our regular season where we only won 1-0, 3-0, 4-0. And so in those games, you could make the argument that we were saved by Randy Johnson. If we did not have him shutting down our opponents, we weren't hitting that great, maybe we would not have won. But I do think that giving it to Randy Johnson is appropriate. Again, I could have gone either way. So glad to see, you know, more of a competitive result here. The next award is Playoffs MVP. Now, I want to differentiate and explain once again the difference between Playoffs MVP and World Series MVP. World Series MVP is, always given out in every sport, in every professional sport, and of course it's just who performed the best in the championship. So World Series MVP, of course, only relates to performance in the World Series, whereas playoffs is just for who was the best throughout the entire playoffs, including the World Series. So not only who was best in the World Series, but who was best in the ALCS, the first round, just taking all of that into account. And so for playoffs MVP, the nominees were Pablo Sanchez, Keisha Phillips, and Amir Khan. And the winner with 70% of the vote was Pablo Sanchez. Obviously a very lopsided result, but to be honest, there were kind of lopsided statistics in the playoffs. If y'all remember, both Amir Khan and Keisha Phillips showed out in the playoffs, had some great performances. Amir Khan especially, out of nowhere, had a great power hitting performance throughout the entire playoffs. Keisha Phillips had a streak of like 4 or 5 straight games with a home run. I think Amir Khan did as well. They were great, but Pablo Sanchez went completely above and beyond. As I said, playoff Pablo versus regular season Pablo was like night and day. Not only did he hit 9 home runs in the 7 games of the playoffs, but he had 29 runs batted in. So in the 7 games of the playoffs, he hit more RBI than Ken Griffey Jr., the league leader, did in the regular season. So just completely off the charts. Pablo Sanchez, I think, absolutely was our best player, at least hitting wise, during the playoffs, so I think this is well deserved. And then last up, we have World Series MVP. The nominees were Pablo Sanchez, Ken Griffey Jr., and Randy Johnson. And your winner in the most lopsided result of all of the polls is Randy Johnson with 73% of the total vote. This was not even close, and to be honest, I do kind of agree with the result. Pablo Sanchez was of course great in the World Series, as he was throughout the entire playoffs. Ken Griffey Jr., who was slumping early in the playoffs, really turned it on, had 4 home runs in 3 games in the World Series. He was excellent, but Randy Johnson pitched a shutout throughout the entire World Series, had 2 games that were only 1-hitters, should have been no-hitters. I mean, you can't top that. Like, they had, I think at most 2 to 3 base runners per game. A couple of those would reach due to error. As I said, Randy Johnson had a couple 1-hitter games and just shut them out the entire rest of the way. Like, that's just, that is unstoppable pitching. Obviously, you gotta hand it to the pitcher at that point. So Randy Johnson, in the most lopsided result of all these polls, wins the World Series MVP. I think that's deserved. And so with that, we are wrapping up the Backyard Baseball 2003 Tampa Bay Devil Rays season playthrough. I've had to say that phrase a lot. Backyard Baseball 2003 Tampa Bay Devil Rays season playthrough. It's been a fun ride that has taken over a year. As I mentioned in, I think, the regular season finale, I don't know if all the new viewers have watched that one all the way through, but I mentioned that I recorded that entire regular season over a period of 2 months in May and June of 2020. So we're talking 15 months ago. So this series that I am just now finishing, it's been over a year in the making, and it's very cool that this is, the second YouTube channel that I've operated. My main channel, Grant J. Hillman, I've had that one for much longer. That's like always been my main channel, just in terms of, not just in terms of what I'm uploading, but also in terms of just what I use YouTube for. I've been a YouTube consumer, a YouTube user for over a decade now. And it's crazy that this, basically experimental channel that I launched on a whim from the ground up just, last year as a hobby, has really exploded, and now every single video on the channel is approaching 1,000 views. I mean, that's just, it's crazy because, I don't make money doing this. This is not my full-time thing. I have a very inconsistent upload schedule, yet clearly y'all are loving the videos and are clicking on them, and they're getting recommended to new people, and it's awesome. And so yes, there will be new content on the way. My next series will be Backyard Baseball 2003. I feel like I should announce that and give you all a preview. We are sticking with the same game for now. Yes, I will branch out into other games at some point, but I do want my next series to be Backyard Baseball 2003. However, I'm not giving any more spoilers besides this. It is going to be very different than this season playthrough was. Very different. And that's the only spoiler y'all are getting for now. I might upload a teaser trailer at some point. We'll see about that. That is the only hint that y'all are getting for now. It's going to be very different than this series was. Also, one final side thing, I am considering going back and editing all of the past video thumbnails and changing up my formula for all future thumbnails. What I mean by that is I'm planning on getting a professional like cartoon avatar done for my video thumbnails, not just on this channel but on my main channel as well, just to make them more professional looking, because like, let's be honest, my standard thumbnails on this channel are kind of cringy, bro. Like they definitely are a little bit cringy. So let me explain my thumbnail methodology for a little bit. They are intentionally a little bit clickbaity. You know, as I said, I've been on YouTube for over 10 years as a user, and so I know what the formula is for thumbnails a little bit. And you know, people always love to make fun of gamers and reaction YouTubers for their clickbaity reaction thumbnails, where it's like them going, or you know, pretending like they're super shocked or like super upset, like ooh, or you know, they're making a sad face or an excited face or something like that. And so really, the thumbnails on this channel this entire time have been like a sort of self-aware experiment, where I'm kind of like, okay, if I make the super stereotypical clickbaity surprised reaction face in the thumbnails, will they get clicks? And you know, evidently they've worked somewhat. Please let me know in the comments if the thumbnails have been part of the reason why you clicked on the videos. I would just be curious to know. And for the record, it's worked on my main channel as well. Normally I don't include my face in the thumbnails of those videos. I only do it for maybe half of my videos, but I posted a reaction video a few months ago, and I just wanted to see if like the stereotypical reaction video formula was gonna work for me. So I made sure to do like sort of like a clickbait title with like a clickbait surprise reaction face in the thumbnail, and that video took off like a rocket. Like, it got way more views over the first week, 2 weeks, month than any other video I posted during that period of time, or even since. And so clearly the clickbait formulas work. And so I don't know what to tell you. You have my word now as a very small YouTube content creator that the clickbait formulas work. And so of course I'm kind of just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's working, because I want to have more professional looking thumbnails. But it's true, man. As long as you can make the surprise reaction face and you know how to title your videos correctly with the right keywords, it works. That's all I have to say. So I do plan on doing that. I want to make more professional looking thumbnails, so I'm going to make sure that all my videos going forward have different looking thumbnails, and I will also be going back and retroactively editing the thumbnails for all the previous videos on my channel. So if all of a sudden you come to my channel and you see that, whoa, all of a sudden the thumbnails are different, that's why. They're not going to be radically different. I'm just going to be replacing myself. I'm just going to be replacing the pictures of myself within the thumbnails. But I mean, that might be a bit of a radical change for some of y'all. So I'm just letting y'all know that I'm planning on doing that. I want to go back and change sort of the cringy gamer reaction thumbnails, the clickbait thumbnails, and I want to make them a little bit more professional looking. So that's just another side thing. But yeah, man, I think that this is it for this series, man. I'm officially calling an end to the saga of the Backyard Baseball 2003 Tampa Bay Devil Rays season playthrough, and gotta say that one more time. And yeah, man, it's been a fun ride. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this whole time, or if you're new, thank you also for watching and clicking and subscribing and liking the videos and all that. So whether you're old or new, thank you so much for your time and your engagement, and it's really encouraging to see. And so yeah, man, that's it for our Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and I will see y'all at the beginning of the next series. It's coming.